mean, he's talking about he changed. I mean, I changed his life. He definitely changed mine. And what I really, my mission and what I go around doing is really encouraging people to do the same, right? To build community, to dream big, to keep educating yourself, and just to keep elevating. That's what my shirt says. This is, now what I'm doing as well, just to keep elevating. So it takes a village. Let's go from there, right? To build a community. They say you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with the most. I learned that, and I feel like that might have been a Jim Rohn, but I learned that thankfully very early in life. I learned that when I was like in high school. And so, where I'm from, like, not many people were into personal development, but, I was able to meet people outside of my neighborhood or, just use the principles that my parents gave me to elevate myself, right? To educate myself, to go outside of my community, to go into the city, to go, to the offices of Madison Square Garden, to the offices of like ESPN when I was in high school. So I grew up in East New York in pink houses in the projects.
Okay.
Mom and dad were teenagers when they had me. And, we didn't have a lot of money, you know what I mean? We was on, welfare like, anybody else in my neighborhood. But what they did value was education, right? They say you're gonna study hard, like you're not just gonna go to school. You're gonna go to school and then you're gonna go to that after school program because your mind has to keep going. What do you think, you're gonna come home and watch TV? Like, no. You're gonna go to school, and then when you get home from that after school program, you're gonna have a book in your hand to read. Like, they just made sure like education was always emphasized. And also, like, I was in dance classes, like I was at this East New York theatrical workshop, like the center was my second home, right? The community center in the projects, like that was my second home. So I feel like all of those people helped me to realize like, okay, it's going to take more than school to be able to elevate, to be able to keep going, to be able to get off welfare, to get out of my situation, to make sure that, we're taken care of. And so when I had the opportunity, I used to play basketball, so when I had the opportunity to go into this program that targeted athletes that wanted to be like WNBA players, I thought I was going to be playing in the WNBA because that's what I saw on TV, right? Sometimes we can't go, we have to see it to believe it and believe it to achieve it. And so that's what I thought that I could achieve. But they targeted these girls to come into the city and meet women that worked in sports, right? So they was like, you don't have to play for a team. You can work for a team. You can be the president of basketball operations. You can be the president of community relations. And I saw these, black women that looked like me, but they weren't in jerseys or they weren't singing or they weren't entertaining. They were there like leading business teams, leading conglomerates. And I was like, wow, like that inspired me to want to do the same thing. So at 16, those seeds were sown for me to do what I did, years later at, at another age. But, which led me to meeting Mike, right? Because, so that raised my interest in sports. And ever since then, I was like, okay, I want to play for a team, but, if it doesn't work out, I know I have something else. So I continued to play. I tried out for my team in college, right? And I was like, I'm still gonna have these hoop dreams, like, might make it, might not. But, when I tried out for my college team at Hampton University, I remember the day, I remember the time. One thing I don't remember is getting that call back on the team, but that was okay. I think I was too good. They was like, we don't want the competition to be skipped. Well, you feel me? You feel me, right? Exactly. She feel me. That happened to you before too. So I didn't make the team, but that made me realize, let me go into major in sport management. And so I majored in sport management, learned about, sports marketing, learned about like how 15 people might play for a team, but 250 people might work for a team, right? So that opened my eyes like, okay, this is a limited dream. Like, why don't I try to do something where the positions are, endless? And that's only for basketball. You think about, that's only for one basketball team, 250 people work. If there's 30 teams, multiply that 250 and you just keep going. Then you think about brands, Nike, Under Armour, Adidas, all of these positions in sports that I never knew about. So anyhow, they exposed me to all of that and wanting to pursue those dreams. So I majored in sport management in college. was able to study abroad while I was in college. So I went to China, and now when I go to the nail place, I say, "Ni guai shua pu gong hua ma." But that only happened because of that C word, community, right? The people that were around me, the 5 people that I was hanging out with the most, that were like, okay, we see this study abroad thing, like, why don't you try it out? But if it wasn't for those people encouraging me, staying together, like, when I'm down, they're the ones that's telling me, like, hey, pick your head up, like, or hey, like, did you apply for that study abroad program? Like, I had to have those people in my corner, that positive peer pressure, to be able to tell me to, like, look, you got to do this, like, you have to do this for not only you, but I knew I had to do it for my mom, who struggled so much to get me, where I had to be. So I did that. Then I graduated, heard about this scholarship for students that wanted to go to the top schools in their major. I went to church one Sunday and they were just talking about this randomly, right? So this goes to the dreaming big, right? Because my idea was, okay, I'm gonna go to grad school, like any grad school, I wanna study education. I was mad at the people that I saw that weren't motivated, that might have been from the same place that I was, but I was like, why aren't some students motivated and why are some motivated? So I had to figure out what that was. So I was like, I'm gonna just go to grad school, any grad school, or a good grad school, whatever. So then I heard about the scholarship though that was talking about you had to be applying to one of the top schools in your major or you couldn't apply. So I was like, dang, I need money for college, so let me just apply for this scholarship, so I'm gonna have to apply for a top school. I laughed about it with my dad after church, what if I went to Yale or Princeton or something like that, or one of these top Ivy League schools? But it was like, oh, whatever. So I really looked into it, and I looked at Harvard last because I was like, it would be the hardest to get into and the most expensive. And I told you, I didn't have a lot of money. So anyway, but I looked at the other schools, I didn't really like them. So I looked at Harvard and I was like, okay, this has a great program that I like. Let me just think about applying. And so I really prayed about it, and I was like, I felt like God was like, it's not gonna be you, it's gonna be me working through you to do this. So I was like, all right, bet, we got it. Let me call some mentors, let me go out there, let me see what it is. Because like I said, see it, believe it, and then achieve it. So I went out to the school, saw how it was, met some people, came back, applied, and 4 months later, I got in. So I was able to, after I graduated Hampton in 3 years, with my bachelor's in sport management, then I went to Harvard to get my master's degree in education. And so that's what I'm encouraging young women to do the same, right? You could go from the hood to Harvard. It's not something that's out of the works, you can do it. And I want them to be able to see me and other black women, black men, that are doing what they want to do. You might have something different that you want to do, but you think it's impossible, but just keep on building that community, dreaming big, seeing it, believing it, achieving it. And so after Harvard, it still was a bumpy road. I still had to look for a job for a year after school. And I was like, dang, I want to work in sports. I worked at the organization that exposed me to the young women, Power Play NYC. I worked there for a year. They were having a fundraiser, and they were honoring the president of the WNBA at this fundraiser. And so preparation, right? Preparation is the key to success. That's what they say. So I really prepared, for this speech. You have to stay ready, right? They always say stay ready. So I prepared for this speech that I was going to say at this luncheon where the president was going to be. I remember a mentor telling me that whenever she spoke, she always prepared, and she had gotten her last 3 positions from speaking. So I was like, all right, bet, I'm working part-time for this nonprofit. Let me just prepare the speech. I don't know what's going to happen. So anyway, I talked about the organization, talked about, how much it helped me. And then my boss at the time, she got up and said, thank you, Mia. Then she gave the president of the WNBA her award. So president of the WNBA comes up, gets to the podium, the first thing she says out her mouth, anybody that can speak like that about their organization should work for me. So Mia, I want you on my team.
Wow.
And,
that's
how I got my first job in sports. And that's just from staying ready. You gotta stay ready. You gotta be prepared. Whenever you get that exposure, make sure you're ready for the opportunity. And that just comes with that continuing learning. Keep elevating, surrounding yourself with those people that are gonna help you to stay inspired. And so that was my first experience. I got to work for the WNBA. I was like, I couldn't play on the court, but I could work, in the president's office, off the court. So, still quote unquote made it to the league.
Yeah.
Did that. then I really missed the students. So I decided to work at the High School of Sports Management. So I worked in a high school for 5 years. I stayed there with the young men that were just like me, that wanted to be athletes. But I was like, listen, there's thousands of careers in sports that you can do. You can be a writer, which is what I do now as well. You can be a sports reporter. You can be a salesman, or something like that, account executive, or you can own a team. You can be an agent. Just tons of positions. So I did that for 5 years. Year 3 though, I saw that the Nets were coming to Brooklyn, and so I was like, all right, bet. I have vision, right? Tunnel vision. I was like, I'm from Brooklyn. I love sports. There's gonna be a team in Brooklyn. Like, why not try to work there? So that's when I was like, all right, bet. I passed the Barclays Center when they were building it every day on my way to work. And every day I was like, I'm gonna work there one day. Like walking from the train, I used to pass that arena every day. Like, I'm gonna work there one day. Granted, at first I didn't even want it to come, because it was, moving people out, and I was like, dang, that's messed up. But after it came, I was like, all right, you can't beat them, join them, right? So I was like, pass them by the arena, whatever. And I said it every day. I went to Nets games. I went to New Jersey before they left, just to make sure I was building those relationships. Because like I said, I knew that I had to be around those people, touching them, you know what I mean? Just getting to know them, because I wanted to be on that team. And then I had met this woman, really actually while I was still at the high school. Stayed in touch with her for 2 years. She wasn't even working at the team at the time, but then she started working for them months after I met her. Stayed in touch with her for honestly, it was 2 years until they were opening their arena. That summer, before they opened their arena, she sent me an email Mia, send me a resume. I said, okay. When she brought me in, she said we had to bring in somebody that could connect the arena to the community, right? And she was like, when we had to create this position, you were the first one person to come to mind.
Wow.
And so I was like, wow, thank you. And so that's how they brought me on as, to be a liaison of community relations for Barclays Center when they opened the arena. So that always shows me, it's not only, they always say it's not what you know is who you know, but it's not just who you know, it's who knows you, right? So you have to stay in touch with people. You have to stay connected, because it wasn't like I reached out to her. It was like she thought of me because I stayed in touch with her. I stayed on her mind. Came to, like I said, you come into these meetings, come to every meeting, but you stay on people's mind. People remember you. And then when those opportunities come, you want them to think of you. So it's who knows you. Staying in touch with those people, staying in touch with that community is definitely a way that you'll keep elevating. So that's what I did. Met Mike after my first 2 months, and from there it was a breeze. I was like, this joint is about to be a breeze because Mike, anything that I needed, Mike was there, and I knew he reminded me of people from my community, right? Because we look out for each other, or at least that's the people that you want to stick around. Not everybody does, but that's the ones that you want to stay away from, right? But the ones that you know are supportive and are gonna come out to your events and things like that, that's the ones you keep around you. So when I saw that in Mike and just his passion, and that event was huge. That event was amazing anyway. But but he was consistent, and I consistently was reaching out, and we rode that thing.
I'm telling you, till the wheels fell off.
Till the wheels fell off, right? And they did. But left there in January of last year, and was really doing my own thing. Kept speaking to students, kept encouraging these young women, look, you can do anything you want. And then I really got back to my passion in media, and I was like, too many young black people are getting killed on TV, and the way that they depict black men and women on TV is just trash. So I was like, I have to become part of changing that narrative. I don't like that. I want to be involved in media. And so thankfully I had the opportunity to get a position as associate producer with NBC BLK. So that's NBC News' digital platform, elevating the conversation around race, education, politics, for black people. And so I was able to do that for a year. Just finished that in April, and since then have been building this curriculum for high school girls. Really want them to be able to prepare for college and careers, speaking across all over the place, and just continuing to build that community, continuing to encouraging everyone to keep elevating. So say it with me on the count of 3.
Okay.
Keep elevating. 1, 2, 3.
Keep elevating. Yeah.